I found my fiancé is charging our friends to live stream our private arguments. It started with a notification, a little ping on my phone, one I'd usually ignore, buried under a mountain of emails and social media alerts. But this one was different. It was from Chloe's account, and it said something about a scheduled stream. My stomach did a weird flip, a premonition kind of thing. Chloe's been working remotely for this online content company, something about managing creators, and she's always on her laptop, always buried in her phone. I figured it was for her job, some kind of webinar or something. I was in the garage, wrestling with a stubborn lawnmower that decided to die right before the weekend, grease smeared on my face and all over my favorite t-shirt. The heat of the afternoon was making everything sticky and miserable. "You won't believe this," I yelled into the house, wiping sweat from my brow. "This mower is officially possessed." No answer. Chloe was probably in her zone, as she calls it, headphones on, oblivious to the world. I sighed, tossed the wrench down, and trudged inside, stripping off my greasy shirt and heading for the shower. As I passed her office, the door was slightly ajar. A sliver of light spilled out, and I could hear the faint murmur of her voice. Curiosity, I guess, got the better of me. I peeked in. She was at her desk, not in her usual focused work posture, but leaning back, a small, triumphant smile playing on her lips. On her screen, it wasn't some corporate dashboard. It was a live stream interface. My blood ran cold. I could see a chat box scrolling by, filled with usernames I vaguely recognized from our friend group. Names like Mark_loves pizza, Sarah says hi, and a few others I'd seen at our last barbecue. And then I saw it, a prominent button that read, "Donate to unlock full argument replay." My breath hitched. Before I could process what I was seeing, her voice, unusually animated, cut through the quiet of the house. "Okay guys, thanks for the super chat, Mark. Looks like we're heading into the main event here. Chloe and Ben, always a classic dynamic. Let's see how this one unfolds." I froze. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it. This wasn't her job. This was us, our arguments. She was broadcasting our private fights, our disagreements, the ugly stuff, to our friends for money. The sheer betrayal of it hit me like a physical blow. I felt dizzy. I stumbled back, bumping into the doorframe, the sound echoing in the sudden stillness. Chloe jumped, her head snapping towards the noise. Her eyes widened, and the triumphant smile vanished, replaced by a look of pure panic. "Ben, what are you doing here?" she stammered, quickly trying to minimize the window. Too late. I'd seen enough. I just stood there, my heart hammering against my ribs, the grease on my hands feeling like dirt under my fingernails. The air in the house, usually filled with the comfortable hum of our life, suddenly felt toxic. This was supposed to be our sanctuary, our private world, and she was selling access to its wreckage. Before I even knew what I was doing, I blurted out, "What the hell is going on, Chloe?" My voice was rough, raw, laced with a disbelief that was quickly curdling into something uglier. She scrambled to close the browser tab, her hands shaking. "Ben, honey, you startled me," she said, her voice a little too high-pitched, a little too sweet. It was the same tone she used when she'd forgotten to pick up my dry cleaning, or when she'd promised to call her mom back and hadn't. The deflection was so blatant, so insultingly transparent, that it fueled the fire already burning inside me. "Startled you? You're live streaming our fights to Mark and Sarah and everyone else, and I startled you?" I walked further into the room, my eyes locked on her face, searching for an explanation, any explanation that wouldn't shatter the world I thought we were building. The computer screen, now showing her desktop wallpaper, a serene beach scene, ironically, offered no comfort. "It's not what it looks like, Ben, I swear," she said, her gaze darting around the room as if looking for an escape route. Her blonde hair was a mess, pulled back in a hasty bun, and her usually bright blue eyes looked panicked and evasive. It's for content. It's a project, for work." The lie hung in the air, thin and reedy. Content, project, work. These were the buzzwords she used to justify her endless hours online, her constant phone scrolling, her vague explanations of managing creators and building engagement. But this was a whole new level of something. I didn't have the word for it yet. Betrayal? Exploitation? A deep, profound sickness? Content? I repeated, my voice dangerously low. You're selling our arguments as content? To our friends? My mind flashed back to Friday night, when we'd had a stupid fight about whose turn it was to do the dishes. I'd been tired from a long week, and she'd been stressed about a deadline, and we'd ended up yelling. I remembered feeling embarrassed, even though it was just the two of us. And now I realized that raw, private moment, the one I'd felt mortified by even in our own kitchen, had probably been broadcast live with a running commentary and an option to replay it for a fee. The thought made me nauseous. I leaned against the doorframe, trying to keep my breathing even, trying to process the enormity of it. It wasn't just the act itself, the sheer audacity of it. It was the calculated nature of it. The fact that she had a system, a platform, a way to monetize our deepest, messiest moments. It wasn't a spontaneous outburst of anger or a moment of weakness. This was a business. Our personal lives were her product. I took a step closer. Who else knows Chloe? Who else is involved in this project? I wanted to scream, to smash something, but a terrifying calm had settled over me.
A cold, hard clarity that cut through the anger. I needed to understand the scope of it, the depth of this deception. I needed to know how far this went. Nobody, she said quickly, perhaps too quickly. It's just a small group. My manager, she's helping me set it up. It's supposed to be discreet. Discreet. The word was a joke. Live streaming our arguments to our social circle wasn't discreet. It was a public spectacle. Discreet how, Chloe? By giving people a donate button to watch our private fights? I gestured towards the now closed laptop. I saw it, Chloe. I saw the chat. I saw the donate to unlock full argument replay. That's not discreet. That's perverse. My voice cracked on the last word. Perverse. It felt like the only word that fit. The way she was profiting from our pain, our genuine moments of frustration and conflict, was beyond anything I could have imagined. I thought about all the times we'd argued, the stupid things we'd said in the heat of the moment, the tears that had sometimes been shed. Had all of that been fodder for her audience? Had our private lives become a reality show, with Chloe as the producer and me as the unwitting star? I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't see the woman I was planning to marry. I saw a stranger, someone I didn't know at all. The woman I loved wouldn't do this. The woman I loved wouldn't commodify our relationship, wouldn't exploit our vulnerabilities for financial gain. How long, Chloe? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. How long has this been going on? The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken accusations and a growing dread. I braced myself for her answer, knowing that whatever it was, it would change everything. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a choice, a deliberate, calculated choice to turn our private life into a public performance. The emotional fallout was immense. The guilt gnawed at me. Was I somehow to blame? Had I not been enough of a partner? Not attentive enough? Not understanding enough to prevent this? Anger simmered beneath the surface. How dare she? How dare she betray me like this? And not just me, but our friends, our trust, our shared history. Confusion swirled in my head. What kind of person did this? What kind of relationship had I been in? And beneath it all, a deep, chilling fear. Fear of what else I might discover. Fear of the person Chloe had revealed herself to be. And fear of the future. A future that suddenly looked incredibly uncertain. The comfortable predictability of our suburban life. The Friday night takeout. The Sunday morning farmer's market. The plans for a wedding felt like a fragile illusion. A carefully constructed facade that had just been ripped apart. I remembered the little things that had felt off recently. Chloe's increased screen time. Her vague answers about her work. The way she'd sometimes get defensive when I asked her what she was up to. I'd dismissed it all as work stress, as the demands of her new role. But now, it all clicked into place. A horrifying mosaic of deception. The late nights working on projects. the hushed phone calls she'd take in the other room, the subtle shift in her behavior when I asked about her day. But it had unleashed a tidal wave of chaos. I looked at Chloe, her face pale and drawn, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and a desperate attempt at self-preservation. She was trapped, and I was the one who had found her there. But the trap wasn't just hers, it was ours, and I had no idea how we were going to get out. I needed to know, with absolute certainty, the extent of this. "Just tell me, Chloe," I said, my voice strained, the plea raw and desperate. "How long has this been going on?" The silence that followed was deafening. It stretched out, punctuated only by the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen and the frantic thumping of my own heart. Her silence was more damning than any confession. It confirmed every fear, every doubt, every horrifying possibility that had just sprung into my mind. It was a gaping maw of unspoken truths, a chasm that had opened up between us, wide and deep and seemingly unbridgeable. The carefully constructed narrative of our shared life, the one I had so confidently believed in, had just been reduced to ashes. I felt a profound sense of loss, not just for the relationship I thought I had, but for the future I had so eagerly anticipated. The wedding plans, the house we were saving for, the simple, honest life we'd envisioned, it all felt like a cruel joke now. I saw her begin to speak, her lips parting, but no sound came out. It was as if the weight of her secret, the enormity of her deception, had rendered her speechless. I turned away, unable to bear the sight of her fabricated innocence any longer. I walked out of the room, the image of her panicked face seared into my memory. The garage beckoned, a place of honest work, of tangible problems that could be solved with a wrench and some elbow grease. But I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that this was a problem no amount of physical effort could fix. I needed to understand everything, every single detail. Because if she was capable of this, what else was she capable of? The question haunted me as I walked, a dark shadow clinging to my thoughts. The seeds of doubt had been sown, and I knew with a sickening certainty that they would grow into something monstrous. The trust, the bedrock of any healthy relationship, had been irrevocably shattered, and I had no idea if it could ever be rebuilt.
I stood by the open garage door, the sunlight a harsh glare on the dusty concrete, and I felt utterly, completely alone. I looked at my hands, still stained with grease, and a wave of revulsion washed over me. This wasn't just about being lied to. This was about a fundamental breach of privacy, a violation of the sacred space we'd created together. This was about someone I loved, someone I was going to spend my life with, turning our intimate moments into a spectacle for others. The shock was giving way to a chilling clarity. The comfortable life I'd known was a lie, and I had to confront the architect of that lie, no matter how painful it was. I took a deep breath, the stale garage air doing little to clear my head. I knew I had to go back in there. I had to have the conversation, the one that would either salvage something from the wreckage or confirm that it was all truly gone. The realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. I had to know. I had to know the whole truth, no matter how ugly it was. And I knew, with a dread that settled deep in my gut, that the truth was going to be far worse than I could ever imagine. This was just the beginning. The sheer shock of it all was so overwhelming, it was hard to think straight. My mind was a whirlwind of images and questions, the chat logs scrolling, the names of friends, the concept of donating to watch our fights. It was so bizarre, so utterly alien, that it felt like a bad dream. But the look on Chloe's face, the undeniable panic and guilt, was all too real. I wanted to scream, to rage, to smash something, anything, to release the pressure building inside me. But a terrifying calm had settled over me, a cold, hard certainty that this was not just a misunderstanding. This was a deliberate act,
a betrayal of the highest order. I stepped back into the house, the familiar surroundings now feeling alien and hostile. The air, once filled with the comfortable scent of home, now seemed thick with unspoken accusations. I looked at Chloe, who was still frozen, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and something that looked like regret. But it was too late for regret. The damage was done. The trust, the foundation of our relationship, had been irrevocably broken. I needed answers, and I needed them now. This wasn't about a silly argument or a forgotten anniversary. This was about a fundamental violation of privacy, a complete disregard for our shared life. The realization that my fiancé was actively profiting from our private moments, from our disagreements and vulnerabilities, was almost too much to bear. It was a betrayal that cut deeper than any infidelity. It was a betrayal of our shared intimacy, of the very essence of what it meant to be a couple. I took another shaky breath and walked back towards her office, the sounds of her muffled sobs now audible. I needed to know how this had started, how it had escalated, and how deeply this had gone.
This was more than just a confession. It was a reckoning. And I knew, with a sinking heart, that our future together, the one I had so carefully planned and eagerly anticipated, was hanging precariously in the balance. The cliffhanger, if this were a movie, would be the slow zoom on my face, the dawning horror in my eyes, the realization that the woman I loved was capable of something so profoundly disturbing. I was standing on the precipice of a truth I wasn't sure I was ready to face. The silence that followed her previous attempt to speak was a heavy, suffocating blanket. It amplified the thrumming in my ears, the frantic beat of my own heart. I could feel the weight of her gaze on me, even though I was looking away. The shame, the fear, the sheer audacity of what she had done, it was all there, radiating from her like heat, and I was caught in the blast zone. The comfortable familiarity of our home, the place where we had shared so many quiet evenings, so many laughter-filled meals, now felt like a stage set for a sordid drama. The very air seemed charged with unspoken accusations. I wanted to understand. I needed to understand. How could she? How could she take something so personal, so intimate, and turn it into a commodity? How could she let strangers, our friends no less, into the private corners of our relationship to gawk and to judge and to pay for the privilege of witnessing our pain? The anger was a low, constant burn beneath the shock. It was the anger of being deceived, of being made a fool of having my trust so callously disregarded. But there was also a profound sadness, a grief for the loss of the woman I thought I knew, for the loss of the future we had so confidently planned. The wedding invitations, which I had been meaning to send out next week, felt like a cruel mockery now. What would I say to our friends when they asked about Chloe? How could I possibly explain this? The sheer absurdity of it all was almost overwhelming. Charging people to watch our arguments, it sounded like something out of a twisted dark comedy. But the tears streaming down Chloe's face, the tremor in her hands as she finally reached out to touch my arm, were devastatingly real. "Ben," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Please, let me explain." I pulled my arm away, the contact sending a jolt of revulsion through me. I couldn't. Not yet. I couldn't bear to hear another lie, another excuse, another attempt to minimize the gravity of what she had done. I needed space. I needed to process this, to try and make sense of the unfathomable. The thought of subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting, it all felt so distant, so trivial compared to the seismic shift that had just occurred in my life. But if this was going to be some kind of confession, some kind of story I was telling, then the audience, whoever they were, deserved to know. They deserved to witness this unraveling.
They deserved to understand the sheer, gut-wrenching impact of finding out your future spouse is secretly charging your friends to live stream your private arguments. The horror of that realization was still sinking in, a cold, heavy weight settling in my chest. I looked at her, at the wreckage of her deception, and I knew that this was not the end. This was the beginning of something far more complicated, far more painful than I could have ever imagined. The unspoken question hung in the air, a silent scream. What happens now? And the terrifying answer was, I had no idea. The raw emotion, the shock, the dawning realization of betrayal, it was all too much to articulate. I just stood there, a statue carved from disbelief and dawning horror, the grease on my hands a physical manifestation of the mess I was in. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that I couldn't stay here. Not now. I had to get out, clear my head, and figure out what the hell I was going to do next. The thought of just walking away, of abandoning the life we had built, was a tempting escape. But I couldn't. I wouldn't. I had to face this. I had to understand. And the chilling reality was, I suspected Chloe was already way ahead of me, calculating the next move in her bizarre public performance of our private lives. The tension was a physical force pulling us apart, stretching the fragile thread of our engagement to its breaking point. I needed to breathe, air that wasn't thick with suspicion and unspoken accusations. I walked out of the house, not towards the garage, but down the driveway, towards the street. The late afternoon sun, usually a comforting warmth, now felt like an interrogation lamp, exposing every flaw, every vulnerability. I got into my truck, the familiar worn leather of the driver's seat a small anchor in the storm. The engine rumbled to life, a familiar sound that suddenly felt jarringly out of place. I drove aimlessly, the suburban streets, usually so mundane, blurring into a montage of my life with Chloe. The park where we had our first picnic, the coffee shop where we'd spend hours talking, the movie theater where we'd shared popcorn and whispered secrets, they all felt tainted now, viewed through the lens of this grotesque revelation. My mind kept replaying the scene in her office, her panicked eyes, the way she'd tried to minimize the screen, the casual way she'd thrown out content and work. It was so obviously a lie, a desperate attempt to salvage something from the wreckage. But what was the truth? What was the real story behind this bizarre, exploitative scheme? I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white. The anger was a fire in my gut, hot and consuming, but it was warring with a crushing sense of confusion and profound sadness. I loved Chloe, or I thought I did.
The woman I thought I knew, the one who made me laugh, the one I felt safe with, the one I was ready to build a future with. She couldn't be the same person who would do this. It was like looking at a familiar photograph and realizing the subject was a stranger. The sheer thought of our friends, people we'd shared so many genuine moments with, being her audience, paying to watch our private struggles, it made me sick. Mark, who always had my back. Sarah, who'd been my friend since college. Did they know? Were they complicit? Or were they just as blindsided as I was? The idea that they might have been watching, perhaps even enjoying our arguments, felt like another layer of betrayal. It wasn't just Chloe, it was our entire social circle, their trust being manipulated and monetized. I pulled over to the side of the road, the engine idling. I needed to think, to try and piece together how we got here. I scrolled through my phone, my contacts list a blur of familiar names. I thought about calling someone, anyone, but who? Who could I possibly confide in without feeling like I was participating in Chloe's twisted game? Telling anyone felt like giving the story more legs, feeding the very thing that was destroying us. The scheduled stream notification. It had been so innocuous, so easily dismissible. If I hadn't seen it, if I hadn't peeked into her office, how long would this have gone on? How much more of our lives would have been broadcast and dissected for profit? The thought sent a fresh wave of nausea through me. I imagined her, sitting there, in the glow of her laptop screen, watching the chat scroll by, counting the donations, the little red dollar signs appearing on her screen as our personal lives became entertainment. The ruthlessness of it, the sheer cold calculation was chilling. I remembered a conversation we'd had a few months back. She'd been talking about her work, how challenging it was, how much pressure she was under. She'd mentioned her manager, a woman named Brenda, who was apparently a real hustler. At the time, I just nodded, offering what little support I could. Now, Brenda's name echoed in my mind, a dark omen. Was Brenda the architect of this? Was Chloe just a pawn, or was she an active, willing participant?
The shame of my own naivete washed over me. I had been so caught up in the romance, in the wedding planning, in the comfortable routine of our lives that I had missed all the red flags. The late nights, the hushed phone calls, the increased secrecy around her work. I dismissed them as the usual stresses of a demanding job. I hadn't wanted to see it, hadn't wanted to believe that the woman I loved could be involved in something so sordid. My phone buzzed, a text from Chloe. My heart lurched. I stared at the screen, dreading what it might say. It was short, just 3 words. We need to talk. No apology, no explanation, just a demand. The audacity of it.
After what I had just discovered, she wanted to talk? As if this was some minor disagreement we could resolve over coffee. I couldn't bring myself to reply. I couldn't go back there. Not yet. Not until I could process this overwhelming sense of violation. I started driving again, the streets of our town now feeling like a maze designed to trap me. I passed by a bar, the dim lights and the murmur of voices spilling out onto the sidewalk. A place where people went to escape, to forget, to drown their sorrows. The thought was strangely appealing. I needed to numb this feeling, this raw ache of betrayal. I pulled into the parking lot, the gravel crunching under my tires. I walked in, the sudden darkness and the smell of stale beer a welcome change from the suffocating familiarity of my own life. I found a stool at the far end of the bar, away from the few other patrons. The bartender, a burly guy with a weary look, slid a coaster in front of me. "What can I get for you?" he asked, his voice gruff but not unkind. "Whiskey," I said, my voice rough. "Neat." He poured me a shot, the amber liquid glinting under the dim lights. I downed it in one gulp, the burn a welcome distraction from the emotional firestorm raging inside me. I ordered another, and then another. The world started to blur around the edges. The anger, the confusion, the pain, they were still there, but they were being dulled by the alcohol, replaced by a hazy resignation. I didn't want to think about Chloe, about what she'd done, about what it meant for our future. I just wanted to feel numb. The conversations around me faded into a low hum. I stared into my glass, the ice cubes slowly melting, mirroring the way my resolve was dissolving with each drink. I thought about the wedding, the guest list we'd spent hours compiling, the dress she'd spent months searching for, the venue we'd booked. It all felt like a cruel joke now. How could I marry someone who had so fundamentally deceived me? How could I trust her with my life, with my heart, when she had proven herself capable of this? The thought of her, alone in our house, perhaps watching her phone for my response, waiting for me to come back and confront her, sent a shiver down my spine. But I couldn't. Not like this. Not drunk. I needed to be clear-headed, to be able to articulate the depth of my hurt, the magnitude of her betrayal. I nursed another drink, the alcohol making my limbs feel heavy, my thoughts sluggish. A woman at the other end of the bar, her laughter a little too loud, caught my eye. I quickly looked away. I didn't want any part of this. I just wanted to disappear. The bartender placed a small notepad and pen in front of me. "For your name if you need it," he said. I just shook my head. I didn't want to be remembered. I didn't want to leave a trace. I just wanted this night to end. As the alcohol took hold, fragments of memories began to surface, moments I had previously dismissed as insignificant, but now seemed to hold a sinister new meaning. Chloe's frantic energy after a late-night work call, her insistence on keeping her personal laptop in her office, the way she'd sometimes flinch when I asked too many questions about her day. It all painted a disturbing picture, a picture I had been too blind, too trusting to see. I remembered one evening, not long ago, when we'd had a small disagreement about our honeymoon plans. I'd been excited about a backpacking trip through Europe, while she'd been leaning towards a more luxurious resort stay. It had ended with a bit of raised voices, more frustration than anger, and then we'd moved past it. I wondered, with a sickening jolt, if that argument, that little flicker of marital discord, had been recorded and uploaded. The idea was so absurd, so deeply unsettling, that I had to shake my head to clear it. This was not a movie, not a cheap reality show. This was my life,
and it was unraveling in the most horrifying way imaginable. I paid my tab, the cash feeling foreign in my hand. I stumbled out of the bar, the night air cooler than I expected. The stars were out, indifferent to the turmoil raging inside me. I got back into my truck, the familiar scent of stale beer and my own despair filling the cab. I knew I had to go home. I couldn't avoid it forever. But the thought of facing Chloe, of the confrontation that was inevitable, filled me with a dread so profound it was almost paralyzing. As I drove, my mind raced, piecing together the fragmented clues, the subtle inconsistencies, the hollow explanations. It wasn't just about the money, was it? It was about something deeper, something more disturbing. Control? Attention? A warped sense of power? I didn't know, and that was the most terrifying part. The uncertainty, the feeling of being adrift in a sea of deception with no land in sight. The notification, it kept coming back to me. That innocent little ping, it had been the catalyst, the tiny crack in the facade that had revealed the rot beneath. And now, that crack had widened into a chasm, a gaping void that threatened to swallow me whole. I pulled into my driveway, the house dark and silent, a stillness that felt ominous, pregnant with unspoken words. I opened the front door, the click of the lock echoing in the sudden quiet. I stepped inside, my heart pounding a heavy rhythm against my ribs. The living room, usually a place of comfort and shared memories, now felt cold and alien. I could feel her presence, even though I couldn't see her. She was there, somewhere in the house, waiting for me to come back, to face her, to demand answers. I walked towards her office, the door still slightly ajar. I pushed it open, the soft glow of the monitor illuminating the room. Chloe was sitting at her desk, her back to me. Her shoulders were hunched, and she was staring intently at the screen. A notification popped up, another one from her account. A donation. Someone had just sent money. For what? For what piece of our private lives had they just paid? I wanted to scream, to shatter the fragile peace of the night with the raw force of my anger and pain. But a chilling realization stopped me. I couldn't just confront her. I couldn't just demand explanations. I had to see it all. I had to understand the full scope of this betrayal. I had to know what I was up against. I walked past her, my footsteps heavy on the carpet. I stood behind her, looking over her shoulder at the screen. It was the same interface, the same chat window. And then I saw it. A new entry, a message in the chat, from a username I recognized. It was Mark, and he wasn't just watching. He was actively participating. "Come on, Chloe," his message read. "Give us more. Tell us what really happened. The good stuff. The good stuff." He wanted the juicy details. He wanted the drama. He wanted the raw, unedited footage of my pain. And Chloe, my supposed fiancé, was delivering it. She turned her head slowly, her eyes meeting mine in the reflection of the screen. There was no panic this time, no fear, just a cool, calculated gaze, a glint of something that looked disturbingly like anticipation. And in that moment, I knew that this was not just about her. It was about a shared deception, a pact she had made with people I thought were my friends. The ground beneath my feet seemed to vanish. This was far, far worse than I had imagined. This was a conspiracy, and I was the only one who didn't know the script. The air in the room was suddenly thick enough to chew, the quiet electric with unspoken accusations. Mark's message hung there on the screen, a digital noose tightening around my throat. "Give us more. Tell us what really happened. The good stuff. The good stuff." My life, my heart, my broken trust, that was their entertainment. And Chloe, with her hunched shoulders and that chillingly calm gaze in the reflection, she was the ringmaster. She didn't flinch when I finally spoke, my voice a ragged whisper that felt alien in my own ears. "The good stuff, Chloe. You're selling the good stuff.
She turned fully to face me then, the laptop screen casting a harsh, unforgiving glow on her face. Her eyes, usually so warm and expressive, were now like polished stones, reflecting nothing of the woman I thought I knew. "It's not like that, Alex," she said, her voice low, measured, and utterly devoid of any emotion I recognized. "Not like that," I scoffed, the sound hollow and brittle. "Then what is it like, Chloe? Enlighten me, because from where I'm standing, it looks a hell of a lot like you're auctioning off our privacy to the highest bidder, and the highest bidder is currently asking for the good stuff, and you're delivering."
I gestured wildly at the screen, at Mark's grinning avatar, at the relentless stream of chat messages from who knew who, all hungry for the next morsel of our unraveling lives. Mark, who I've known since freshman year. Sarah, who was in my sister's wedding. Are they watching too? Are they in on this? Is this some sick joke you're playing on all of us? Chloe finally looked away from the screen, her gaze settling on a point somewhere past my shoulder. "It started small," she said, her voice gaining a slight tremor now, a flicker of something I almost recognized as guilt, or maybe just the fear of being caught. Brenda, she saw an opportunity. She said people are obsessed with real relationships, with the drama, the ups and downs. She said it was a way to build a brand, our brand. And honestly, Alex, the money. She trailed off, her shoulders slumping slightly. "The money," I repeated, the words tasting like ash. "So our relationship, our arguments, our vulnerable moments, they're just a product line to you? A way to make a quick buck? Is that what you think of me, Chloe? Is that what you think of us?" My voice cracked, the anger momentarily giving way to a wave of profound sorrow. I thought of all the times I'd reassured her, told her we were a team, that we could handle anything together. It was all a lie. She'd been building this secret empire on the back of my trust. "No," she said, her voice rising, a little sharper now. "It's not like that. It's complicated." Brenda assured me that it would be curated, that we'd have control, that it would be about showcasing our strength as a couple, weathering storms together. Curated. I laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. The only thing that's curated here is the narrative you're feeding them, Chloe. And right now, the narrative is that I'm a fool who's being played for a sucker, and you're the mastermind pulling the strings. And Brenda the hustler, is she the one who told you to keep it secret from me, to lie about your work? I walked over to her desk, my eyes scanning the screen, the list of recent donations, the viewer count. Hundreds. Hundreds of people were watching us, dissecting us, judging us, all because Chloe decided our life was for sale. "She said you wouldn't understand," Chloe whispered, her eyes darting back to the screen as a new donation alert popped up. A small smile, almost imperceptible, flickered across her lips. That's when the last vestiges of my love for her fractured and fell away. It wasn't about the money anymore. It wasn't even just about the betrayal. It was about the thrill, the performance, the perverse satisfaction she got from this. "I don't understand," I admitted, my voice suddenly calm, terrifyingly so. "I don't understand how you can look me in the eye knowing this. I don't understand how you can lie to me every single day. I don't understand how you can take the most intimate parts of our lives and turn them into this." I gestured around the room, at the glowing screen, at the chaos she had orchestrated. "I thought I knew you, Chloe. I thought we were building a life together, a real life. But it turns out I was just auditioning for your show." Tears finally welled up in her eyes, but they looked performative, a final desperate bid for sympathy. "Alex, please," she pleaded, reaching a hand out towards me. "Don't do this. We can fix this. We can stop it. I can stop it." I pulled my arm back, the gesture of physical repulse. "Stop it? You think stopping it is enough? You think I can just unsee this, unfeel this? You think I can go back to pretending that everything is okay after discovering that my entire life has been a lie, broadcast and dissected for your fame, your fortune, whatever twisted motivation you have for this sickness?" She started to cry in earnest then, large heaving sobs that shook her body.
but I couldn't muster an ounce of pity. The woman I loved was gone, replaced by this calculating stranger who had weaponized our intimacy. "Who are you?" I asked, the question raw and full of anguish. "Who are you, Chloe?" She looked up at me, her face streaked with tears, her eyes pleading. "I'm still me, Alex. I'm just flawed. We all are. Brenda said people connect with authenticity, with realness." "Realness?" I barked out a laugh. "This is realness? This is exploitation. This is a betrayal so profound it feels like it's rewritten my entire past. Every fight we've ever had, every moment of doubt, every struggle we faced. Did you record it all? Did you plan it? Were you thinking, this is good content?" The thought sent a fresh wave of nausea through me. Her silence was the answer. It was a deafening confession. I looked at her, at the wreckage of our life spread out on that glowing screen, and I felt a cold, hollow space open up inside me. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was a profound, soul-deep emptiness. I had given her everything. My trust, my love, my future. And she had taken it, packaged it, and sold it. "I can't do this, Chloe," I said, my voice barely audible. I took a step back, putting more distance between us, between me and this horrifying reality. I can't marry someone who sees our life as a commodity. I can't build a future with someone who has so little respect for our privacy, for my feelings, for us. Her eyes widened in panic. "No, Alex, wait. Don't make this decision now. You're upset. I'm upset. We're both emotional. Let's just take a breath." "A breath?" I said, shaking my head. "I've been suffocating for months, Chloe, and I didn't even know it. I thought I was breathing freely, but I was just trapped in your gilded cage. And now I see the bars, and I see who's been feeding you." I looked back at the screen, at Mark's name still hovering in the chat. A taunt. "Tell Mark for me, will you? Tell him the good stuff is over. Tell him the show is canceled."
I turned and walked out of the room, my footsteps firm and decisive this time. I didn't look back. I didn't say goodbye. There was nothing left to say. As I walked through the house, the familiar spaces now felt alien, haunted by the ghosts of our shared life, a life that had been systematically dismantled for profit. I went to the garage, not to my truck this time, but to my toolbox. I grabbed a small, worn leather-bound journal and a pen. This was it. My story, my truth, unfiltered, uncurated, and utterly mine. I wouldn't let her have this last piece of me. I wouldn't let her monetize my pain. I walked out of the house, into the cool night air, the stars a silent, indifferent witness to the implosion of my world. I got into my truck, the engine a steady rumble that felt more like a heartbeat now. I drove away from the house, from the life I thought we had, the one that had turned out to be nothing more than a staged performance. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I was finally breathing air that wasn't thick with deception. The road ahead was dark and uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, it felt like it was mine alone. And that, in its own way, was a kind of freedom. The kind that comes after the deepest kind of loss, after the most crushing realization. It was the quiet, desolate dawn after a long, brutal night. I just drove, the headlights cutting a solitary path through the darkness, and for the first time, I felt like I could see.